Today you're going to learn how to use Google's Panda questionnaire for link prospecting. The idea of this tutorial is to teach you the right questions to ask when you look at a site for link prospecting to determine if it's worth your time. So by the end of this video, you'll know whether or not a site is worth your time. You'll know how to see through link prospect sites very quickly to avoid contacting sites that are a waste of your time, which gives you more time to focus on sites that are more likely to give you a link or to start a conversation with. So then the more links that you earn in less time means better ranking, quicker, and more traffic quicker, and more monetization to your site much quicker. So let's dive right in. So let's provide some context. So what is the Panda questionnaire? So the Panda questionnaire came from the Panda algorithm update, of course, which happened quite a few years ago. So this is not anything novel, but it's kind of a different spin where you use those same questions to look at the sites that you want to do link outreach to. So instead of asking it of your own site and basing quality parameters off your own site, you're doing it with the link prospect sites, because you know that if it passes these questions, then it's probably a very worthwhile link prospecting candidate. And as you know, in link building, it's quality over quantity. Yes, quantity is great, but you'd much rather have a domain rating 80 link than you would 2 15s. So Google, the story behind this, context behind this, Google gave these questions or a variety of these questions to a group of people, and they asked them to take a look at a group of websites and then ask the questions of the websites themselves and then write down the results. So then what they did with those results from the human element is they put a machine learning algorithm on top of them and then based that on future improvements to search. So they took the human element of what people thought would make a great site and they put it in their algorithm, and then now you got the Panda algorithm. So you can use these questions for link prospecting, and that's what we did. So we mixed some of our own questions in that we look at for sites. And keep in mind, you can kind of do this very quickly, although this is, this will take a little bit to go through. You can do these things very quickly once you learn how to do them and just implement them on your link prospecting. Here's some of those Panda questions mixed in with our own to give you an idea of how to link prospect much quicker. Okay, so the first thing you want to look at when you land on a site is, does it contain contextually relevant content? So is the site's content similar in scope or nature to what you cover on your website? This is not a mandatory rule, but you can see that if maybe you're talking about marketing on your website and you do outreach to other marketing sites, how that link would be beneficial, especially in the eyes of Google and relevancy. That's just kind of a given. It's not mandatory to do this, but it's definitely a preference. So you're probably going to get more click-throughs on your link and then a little bit more credibility from Google if it's in the same niche, because Google is going to be looking at the kind of ecosystem of links that go to your site. So if they're in the same vertical, good on you. So the second thing you want to look at is, would you trust information from this website? So that's kind of a sixth sense that you have, and that most SEOs have when they go to a site, is whether or not they trust the information on that website or not. One way you can do this is just looking at the aesthetic of the website. Is it modern? Is it really dated? Does it look like it was really poorly put together? Credible sites look great, they look professional, and they just kind of, right when you get there, you just have this feeling of trust that there's a real brand behind it. If a site doesn't look credible, and if it looks like you just don't trust information from the site, it's probably not that great of a link prospect for you. So you probably just scratch that one off the list. So another aspect is, would you recognize this site as an authority? So reading through some of the content of the site, you can tell very quickly if a site is in depth, if they do really long form posts, or if they just, are just blasting out 200-300 word blog posts just to get content on the site. So another way to determine if a site's an authority is if they cover the same topic in subtopics a lot, because that really shows in-depth knowledge. If a site's an authority, then that's going to be a good link for you, because again, it kind of goes back to that niche aspect where the site's in your niche and it gives you a link, then it's just that whole ecosystem that Google's going to be looking at. So an authoritative site is going to look good from you, and chances are an authoritative site is going to have a decent domain authority. Another question to ask is, would you give this site your credit card info? So especially true for obviously an e-commerce site, but if the answer is no, you would not give a site your credit card info if it did sell products or services, then you probably don't want to link for that site either, because it's just not going to be a trustworthy website. Another thing that we look at is if the domain rating matches what we're looking for. So when we do link outreach, we generally set a floor for the level of links that we want to go after. So for example, we'll set a floor of like a domain rating or domain authority of 30 and only go after sites that are above that. So you can use a tool like Ahrefs for domain rating or Moz for domain authority, and then you can put it in a Chrome extension and you can see very quickly when you visit a site what the domain rating or domain authority is. And if it's above 30 and it matches your intent. Well, you do this in part because one, you want to know how powerful that link could potentially be, but two, you also don't want to get in a situation, for example, with guest blogging, if that's going to be your strategy of going after some domain rating 15 site when they request that you write 1,000-word blog as their minimum for getting a guest post. Obviously, that might not be worth your time to write 1,000-word blog for a link from a DR 15 site. So would you rather write that blog for your own site, or rather spend that time finding a higher DR site and writing a guest blog for them? So obviously it's going to be the latter. You're going to want to spend your time where it's most efficient, which is kind of the whole premise behind this whole tutorial, is use your time most effectively to earn links and seed out the stuff that is not going to earn you links, so you don't spin your wheels in the weeds all the time. Another thing we look at is if the site is written by subject matter experts. So a lot of sites will just seem to let anybody write a guest post on their site, which doesn't really lend to the credibility, and it's clear that there's not subject matter experts writing for the website. On the other hand, you really want to go after sites that have subject matter experts because those are credible sites, and if they're not really popular yet, they probably will be if they keep at it, and chances are they have a good domain rating or authority, and they're just generally trustworthy sites. So if you get a link there's a good chance that people will click on your link and move to your site, but it's also just a good link because one credible site is linking to another credible site, assuming yours is credible, and that's really good. So that also kind of plays into whether or not sites just let anybody write a guest post, and that kind of generally is equated with link farms, where they're just guest posting after guest posting just to get content for the sake of content, and maybe reciprocal link building back and forth. That's just not good. So along those lines, does the site rank for any keywords? Is it getting you relevant traffic? So it's interesting because when you do a lot of link outreach, you actually can see sites that have really good domain authority, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, domain authority, domain rating, and you look at their keyword analysis, and they rank for nothing, which is odd because you think that a site that has that kind of domain rating would be ranking for a lot of keywords or very industry niche keywords, when in fact you find that they're just artificially inflated. So and that probably lends itself to some kind of link farm or something like that. So that's probably a site that you don't want to get a link from. That is, they don't have any real traffic for anything. It's kind of odd. Even if it is a good domain rating, it just doesn't pass the smell test, and I'd probably just scratch that site off the list of prospects. So another thing you want to do if you're going to do outreach to a site and not waste your time is make sure that the site is actually an active brand on their website. Do they regularly post? Not all sites post all the time. In fact, we don't post blogs all the time because we spend more time on outreach, but that doesn't mean we're dormant. So what can you do? You can look at social media. So check out social media. Are they actively engaged on social media? If they're not engaged on their website all the time, and then when they do post on social media, do they get a lot of likes, followers, engagement? If the answer is to no to all those things, they're probably not going to respond to your email outreach because they're probably dormant site. But if they're blogging frequently or they're posting social media frequently, that means they're probably an active brand, and it'd be worthwhile to do outreach to them. If not, probably scratch them off the list too. Another thing, kind of obvious, is there an active person that you can contact rather than just some generic email? A lot of sites will just furnish the info@email or editor@, which you can take your chances on emailing them, but if it doesn't really look like there's any real people managing the site, it's just they do their best to hide the fact that there's human element, there's no bios. Sometimes those sites are not even worth doing outreach to. Not to say that just an editor email is not good, but if it's just like info@ or there's no emails at all on the website, and you have to use a tool like Hunter to find emails and scrape it from off the web, it probably means they don't want to be contacted, and probably not going to be a great link prospect outreach target for you. Also, does the site have a sponsored post section? So if it does, it probably means that it's a pretty big site and they're just monetizing it through sponsored posts, which means that they're probably not going to be open to link building outreach unless you're going to want to pay to play, and that's fine provided it's the right site for you. But if you're just looking to get an organic link, a site that's advertising that they do sponsored posts on their site is probably not going to be a good candidate for you. You probably want to scratch them off the list. So another one, and this is the last one, is the site a really large brand? So large brands, in my experience, don't respond very well to link outreach. Maybe if you know somebody on the inside, great, but generally they have in-house content writers, they have in-house SEO team, and they just don't really care to reach out to external brands or get associated with you. So it's almost like a public relations play. If you're going to get featured on a large site like BuzzFeed or something, it's more of like you got to have heavy PR just to get featured from those kind of sites naturally. But doing outreach to them is probably a waste of your time. I usually just scratch those off the list because more often than not, you just end up spinning your wheels and wasting time trying to do an outreach email to them. So that is it for our list of link prospecting hacks. This is a lot of information, but you can very quickly sort through all these things in a matter of minutes when you start to get really good at it. I mean, you can go to a site and almost instantly know if it's a credible site, is it trustworthy, would I give this site my credit card? Those kind of things. Are they an authority on any topic? Do they rank for anything? You can tell those things pretty quick, and if you combine these questions that you ask yourself with software tools like Moz or Ahrefs and the Chrome extensions that they provide, then you can extrapolate data very quickly about a site and then determine if it's a good prospect for your link outreach. So you'll save a lot more time, you'll get a lot more links. Instead of sending 100 emails, maybe you can send 10 and get 1 or 2 links, which is not a bad hour of your time or whatever. Maybe it takes you longer, maybe not. But anyhow, I hope this helps you earn a lot more links and save a lot of time. So let me know if I missed any techniques that you use, any hacks that you use for link prospecting. I can add them to a blog, or if you have any other questions, maybe we'll cover them at some other time. So if you like this video, please like it and subscribe if you're not already a member, and let me know if any questions or comments in the comment section. Cheers.